preskonferenci pēc tikšanās ar ministru prezidentu vārds Valdim Dombrovskijam.
Jā, labvakar, godātie mediju pārstāvji. Vispirms es gribētu pateikties Eiropas Savienības augstākajām amatpersonām, Eiropas Savienības padomes prezidentam Van Rompuy kungam, Eiropas komisijas prezidentam Barroso kungam par šo vizīti Latvijā, lai kopīgi atzīmētu Latvijas iestāšanos Eirozonā. Tikšanās laikā ar Van Rompuy un Barroso kungiem mēs pārunājam jautājumus, kas ir saistīti ar Latvijas iestāšanos Eirozonā. Es informēju par to, kādā veidā notiek Latvijas pāreju uz eiro un to, ka tiešām šī pāreja ir notikusi ļoti sekmīgi, bez jebkādām būtiskām problēmām vai būtiskām neērtībām iedzīvotājiem. Un jau šodien eiro apjoms apgrozībā Latvijā ir pārsniedzis latu apjomu, tātad redzam, ka tiešām mēs virzamies uz priekšu ar šo eiro ieviešanu ļoti labā tempā. Tāpat pārunājam vairākus jautājumus, kas ir saistīti ar aktualitātēm Eiropas Savienības dienas kārtībā. Pārunājām sarunu gaitu ar Eiropas komisiju attiecībā uz nākamā vai šī plānošanas perioda, tātad 2014. 2020. gada Eiropas Savienības fondu plānošanas perioda ieviešanu. Informēju arī par Latvijas vēlmi uzstādījumu šīs sarunas ar Eiropas komisiju īstenot tajā saucamajā fast track režīmā, tātad pātrinātā režīmā, lai pēc iespējas ātrāk varētu uzsākt pilnvērtīgu Eiropas Savienības fondu apgūvi šajā plānošanas periodā. Tāpat pārunājam jautājumus, kas skar Banku Savienību, kas skar arī Latvijas jau kā Eirozonas valsts līdzdalību Banku Savienībā, kur viens no Latvijai specifiskiem jautājumiem, kam ir jāpievērš uzmanība tālākajā darbā pie Banku Savienības izveidas, ir faktiski pārobežu jautājums, ņemot vērā to, ka Latvijas banku sektorā lielā mērā dominē Skandināvu bankas, tā skaitā Zviedru bankas, kuras ir ārpus Eirozonas un potenciāli ārpus Banku Savienības, un līdz ar to ir skaidri jāatrunā šie jautājumi Latvijas gadījumā. Pārunājām arī vairākas citas aktualitātes, kas saistītas ar situāciju Latvijā, ar jaunās valdības izveidi. Jebkurā gadījumā vēlreiz gribēju pateikt paldies gan Van Rompuy kungam, gan Barroso kungam par šo vizīti un arī pateikt paldies par to lielo atbalstu, ko mēs esam saņēmuši no Eiropas Savienības institūcijām gan finanšu un ekonomiskās krīzes pārvarēšanas laikā, gan arī laikā, kad mēs gatavojamies Eirozonas ieviešanai. Paldies.
Paldies ministru prezidentam. Now welcome Mr. Van Rompuy.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. President of the European Commission, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be back in Riga for this symbolic and historic moment for Latvia and for the European Union. And I warmly welcome Latvia and the Latvian citizens to the Euro area. And I congratulate Latvia and Europe for another important step forward in our common European project. The introduction of the euro on the 1st of January 2014 has only been possible thanks to the determined efforts by the Prime Minister, Valdis Dombrovskis, his government and the Latvian people. The Prime Minister's sense of determination, responsibility and preparation has been reconfirmed by the smooth transition from the Lats to the euro the last days. The euro brings significant economic as well as political benefits. Politically, the euro is at the core of the European integration. And for Latvia, in my eyes, it is another important step forward since Latvia regained independence and joined the OSCE in 1991, the European Union in 2004, NATO in 2006, and now the euro area in 2014. It anchors Latvia even more solidly in the heart of Europe, where it belongs and always should have belonged. The economic benefits are immediately felt when traveling. Using the single currency increases price transparency, eliminates currency exchange costs, and strengthens the single market by facilitating trade and investment. You only need to ask your neighboring Estonians about the benefits. In addition, the euro area also provides better protection from external economic shocks, such as turbulence in the currency markets. Latvia is joining a stronger euro area than a few years before, and strengthened by the new government's rules and solid crisis tools. But of course, adopting the euro also carries obligations, like aligning domestic economic policies with the requirements of the euro area. This is key to enjoy the benefits of the single currency and to contribute to the smooth functioning of the euro area. Latvia's adoption of the single currency shows the world the vitality of the euro. Only 12 years after the first introduction of the euro banknotes and coins, the Eurozone now has 18 members, 333 million Europeans sharing the same currency. And I expect Lithuania to join already next year as the 19th member and completing the Baltic euro accession. In addition, the euro is the second most traded currency in the world. And alongside the US dollar, it is the most important reserve currency. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not bad for a 12-year-old child. Latvia adopting the euro is a strong expression of trust in the euro area and one of the increasingly many and increasingly solid signs that we are finally coming out of the economic crisis in Europe. Growth is returning, exports continue to increase, and confidence is slowly but surely returning. Unemployment in the European Union remains a huge concern, but has stopped rising in many countries and should, like in Latvia, go down. Ireland and Spain left their support programs, and in December we reached agreement on the banking union, a key element to improve the architecture of our economic and monetary union, and a key element to prevent future banking crises in Europe. This shows that all the dedicated and courageous efforts, all the sacrifices made by Latvia and across Europe are bearing fruit. Still, the situation leaves no room for complacency, and we need to continue our efforts to support the recovery and create conditions for more rapid, stronger, and sustainable job creation and growth. Being here, I take the opportunity also to pay tribute to the people of Ukraine, wanting an association agreement with the European Union. We cannot forget their longing for a modern, independent, and democratic Ukraine. We remain on their side, and nobody can prevent them to see their dreams realized one day. So to conclude, with Latvia on board, it is with greater confidence that we now enter a new year together in the euro area. Paldies. Thank you.
Paldies.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, President of the European Council, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, Labdien. I am delighted to be here with you in Riga to mark this historic occasion when Latvia becomes the euro area's 18th member. And we just had a very productive meeting with Prime Minister Dombrovskis, where we discussed Latvia's euro membership and the situation in the European Union and Latvian economies. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Latvia for this major achievement, which was made possible through the impressive efforts and unwavering determination of the Latvian authorities and the Latvian people, to whom I pay tribute. I would like to have a special word of congratulations to Prime Minister Dombrovskis. In fact, my dear friend, you have always believed that would be possible. You kept the line with strong determination in the most difficult periods. And I am a good witness of these efforts. You know that the European Commission was always standing by you in these efforts. And so, to a large extent, It is because of your leadership that now we can be here today in this commemorative moment for Latvia. Let's not forget that not so long ago, you in Latvia were suffering the effects of a profound economic crisis, and you were implementing a rigorous economic adjustment program. While Latvia was not yet in the euro area, in fact, the program implemented by Latvia was in many aspects comparable to the ones that are now being implemented in countries of the euro area. At that time, there were many criticisms, people saying that it will not work, but it worked. And now, your economy is growing at the fastest rate in the European Union. And despite the crisis, you have managed to meet the strict criteria for euro entry. You are a shining example to other member states that it is possible to come out the other side of the crisis stronger. There are also other reasons for Latvia to be proud. Riga is capital of culture for 2014, European capital of culture. And in 2015, Latvia will undertake its first presidency of the Council. Prime Minister Dombrovskis just informed us about the preparations that are going well underway. But Latvia's euro membership is also a sign of confidence in our common currency. Not so long ago, people were predicting the euro's demise. Myself, President Van Rompuy, you were in several international conferences where our partners were asking about a possible implosion of the euro. What happened? Not only there was not an implosion of the euro, today we are welcoming a new member in the euro. Can there be a better demonstration, not only of the resilience, stability, the credibility, the strengths of our common currency, but also about the capacity of this currency to attract the members of the European Union? I think it's impossible to have such a better demonstration. Latvia's membership shows that the euro remains attractive and open to those that meet required conditions. And by the way, we are, as you know, already working with another Baltic country, Lithuania. So I think not very far from now, we'll have all the 3 Baltic states members of the euro. And I don't need to signal how important this is, not only from an economic, financial, monetary point of view, but also from a political point of view. I'm saying this because in a year when voters go to the polls on European Parliament elections, we must remind our citizens of the benefits of a united Europe and also of the dangers of this unity. 100 years ago, this year, Europe began a terrible war that tore our continent apart. 25 years ago, the wall dividing our continent was brought down. 10 years ago, we welcomed Latvia and 9 other member states into the European Union. And today, we are welcoming Latvia as a member of the euro area. I also believe this year will be very important for Europe because if there are no political mistakes, and I underline this, I believe this will be the year where we'll turn the page on the crisis. Indeed, last year we saw the skies starting to clear on the economic front. Most of our countries have now already emerged from recession. Ireland was the first euro area country to emerge successfully from an economic adjustment program agreed with the European Union and with IMF. And now we are seeing very good indications regarding Portugal, regarding Spain also, that is going to exit the program for financial assistance to the banks. And generally speaking, there has been a very good evolution in terms of the costs of the bonds regarding the so-called periphery countries. But while we should acknowledge the positive, we must resist the temptation to think our work is done and now get some comfort into a false sense of security. No, a lot has to be done, but a lot has still to be done in the future. We cannot sit back and relax when unemployment, especially youth unemployment, is still way too high. And also when businesses are not always able to borrow what they need to invest in the economy and create new jobs. So this is work in progress. But I think it is fair to say that we are now much better than some years ago. I think it's important to signal to our citizens there is hope. And I think this is exactly the moment to keep the reform drive, when we can see that it is starting to pay off. That means ambitious structural reforms at national level, reaching also speedy agreement on priority files at European level, particularly the single resolution mechanism, an indispensable leg of our banking union. I hope that this is finally formally agreed by the Council and the Parliament before European Parliament's elections. This is also, this idea to keep the reforms, an important message for Latvia, which should maintain credible policies that have enabled it to come out of the crisis and join the euro area. Latvia should retain its dedication to sound public finances and economic policies and pay particular attention to high levels of youth unemployment and child poverty. These problems are still there and cannot be ignored. The European budget can help to support Latvia as it seeks to implement necessary reforms to deliver higher growth and more jobs. I urge you to use this solidarity to the full. Latvia, under the leadership of Prime Minister Dombrovskis, got a very good result in the next MFF, next multi-financial framework. That will be a huge part of the public investment program in your country from 2014 to 2020. So if used properly, these funds, it can be a great contribution to support the reforms and also to growth and employment in your country. To conclude, Prime Minister Dombrovskis, Latvia has joined an euro area that is much more than a single currency zone. We are speaking about something that is more than economic or financial, that has indeed a political meaning. Latvia is now at the core of the European Union. Our union is not just an economic union. It's also a community based on solidarity, responsibility, and an idea for peace and for justice. Latvia now sits at the euro area's top table as a stable and well-respected partner at the core of European integration. It is a member of the European Stability Mechanism and the banking union we are in the process of creating. Once again, I'd like to say to the people of Latvia, welcome to the euro. Esiat Sveitsi Nati. I hope you understood.
Jautājums ir tāds, jūs teicat, jūs nosaucat ļoti daudz plusu, kas ir eiro valūtai, bet man jautājums ir, daudzās valstīs Vācija un Francija, piemēram, dzīves līmenis ir augstāks nekā Latvijā, un arī labklājības līmenis ir augstāks nekā Latvijā, un arī algas ir augstāks nekā Latvijā. Vai ir gaidāmā kaut kāda izlīdzināšana, un kāds ir atkarīgs no pašiem, vai vairāk, un tas arī tāds līmenis.
To ease our view.
Was a question put to you, are you ready?
Oh, so I will. Let's remember where Latvia was, let's say, 20 years ago. This is the point. Of course, there are differences between the member states, and nobody can promise a miracle. It's true. By the way, let me tell you that if you look at the United States of America, if you make the difference between, let's say, the most rich states and Alabama, you'll find a difference that is very much comparable to the one we have in the European Union. Now, what is important to note is the trend. And the trend is clearly of Latvia and the other new member states. I mean, new. They will not, we are always saying new, I don't like very much that expression. But those who joined more recently, we have seen that they are catching up. This is true. So the GDP per capita of Latvia today is higher than before you joined the European Union. And the same applies to all the other member states. In some cases, in fact, with a very, very spectacular evolution. So I think this is what is important to note. Not the difference between the countries, but what we can do to improve all of us the performance of our countries. But precisely because we look also from a cohesion point of view, we have this policy called, that is in the treaty, called economic, social, territorial cohesion. That's why we have a multi-financial framework that we have now negotiated for the next 7 years, this year and the next and the other, where the countries that are under average, they will receive more than the rich countries. And that's why I mentioned the funds that Latvia successfully negotiated for its development. It's a very important envelope, can in fact contribute to Latvia's catch-up. So we know very well that there are still problems in Latvia. I mentioned in my introductory remarks some of them, some problems of poverty, problems of unemployment. We are completely aware. Today we are commemorating the euro because we really believe it's a very important step forward, but we don't pretend that there are no problems. There are problems in Latvia and in other parts of Europe as well. But let's work building on the positives, and I think that if Latvia keeps that path, this path will of course be in a much better position in the future than the position it has now, and certainly the position that it had before.
Thank you, Mr. Barroso.
Okay.
Participation.
Okay.
Okay.
So, we're all set. Okay. Thank you.